Today we will dive into the fascinating story of Lester Hayes, recognized by many as one of the greatest cornerbacks of all time. Hayes was a 3-time All-Pro and a 5-time Pro Bowl selection, but his NFL career, which ended in 1986, is marked by a controversy that might have prevented his induction into the Pro Football Hall of Fame: the use of Stickum. Lester Hayes became known as the Stickum King for using this adhesive substance to improve his grip on the ball. Although other players also used Stickum, Hayes is often singled out and criticized for it. In your opinion, is the use of this substance really enough reason to deny him his deserved honor in the Hall of Fame? Leave your opinion in the comments and let us know what you think about this issue. This is the Raiders History Channel, and in today's video we will explore this controversy and the impressive career of Lester Hayes. Before we begin, don't forget to leave a like to support the channel and subscribe if you haven't already. Let's go. It was the year 1955 when Lester Hayes was born in the city of Houston, Texas. His family lived on the outskirts of Houston on a farm. Despite being in a big city, Lester was raised in a rural environment. During his childhood, Lester and his father sold chickens and eggs in the city, which made him known as the Egg Boy. However, Lester's peaceful and stable life took a drastic and sudden turn with the passing of his father. His father was not only his great friend, but also his inseparable companion and a central figure in his life. During this tumultuous period, Lester began to develop a stuttering problem, which manifested especially when he was nervous. Many believed that this speech problem was triggered by the trauma of losing his father. The stuttering became a constant struggle for Lester throughout his life, affecting his communication and self-confidence. It was only in the 1980s that he finally managed to improve this condition through specialized treatment. A few years after his father's death, Lester's mother remarried and had another child. Seeking a new life, she moved to Washington, leaving Lester in the care of his grandparents in a central neighborhood of Houston. At his grandparents' house, Lester was exposed to street violence. His grandparents lived in a dangerous neighborhood in Houston, and Lester began to get involved with gangs during his childhood. One of Lester's favorite activities was playing football in the neighborhood streets. When Lester entered high school, he went to Wheatley High School. There, he joined the football team and also stood out on the basketball team and the track and field team. On the Wheatley High School tracks, he was a true sensation. As his involvement in sports increased, Lester began to distance himself from the gangs. His talent was undeniable, and the basketball coach, Jackie Carr, a Texas school legend, remembers him as a tough kid on the court. According to Jackie Carr, the only reason Lester didn't become an All-American basketball player was because he preferred playing football. Jackie also mentioned that Lester might have been the only kid in the school capable of making the basketball team from the football team, such was his skill. Despite his love for football and his evident talent for both sports, Lester was an overlooked high school player in 1970s Texas, where racism was blatant. Even with all his talent, Lester remained so until his senior year of high school, with no expectations of entering a major university to play football. But everything would change when Emory Bellard, the coach of Texas A&M University, whom Lester affectionately called a great man named Emory Bellard, saw him play. According to Bellard, recruiting Lester was probably the strangest case he had ever been involved in. Coach Bellard and an assistant had gone to Houston to watch 2 players from a rival team of Lester's school. Bellard always admitted that he knew nothing about Lester, because he was not considered a prospect until then. The coaches at Wheatley High School were not promoting or pushing Lester to any university. However, before the game ended, Coach Bellard told his assistant to forget about the other 2 players and pay attention only to Lester, who was flying all over the field. Intrigued by Lester's talent, Bellard decided to watch the films of Lester's previous games and realized that he stood out this way every week. It became clear to Bellard that Lester was an excellent player. Determined to meet the young talent, Bellard was introduced to Lester by the school coach. The two were left alone, but Lester didn't say a word. The coach had forgotten to mention to Bellard that Lester stuttered a lot, and when he was nervous, he simply couldn't speak. Despite this silent first meeting, Bellard and Lester ended up getting along very well. Even though Texas A&M was the only university in the Southwest Conference to recruit Lester, Bellard had to visit him 7 times before he finally accepted the university's invitation. When joining the Texas A&M Aggies team as a freshman, Lester was met with great expectations. Coach Bellard, responsible for shaping new talents and optimizing his players' abilities, carefully analyzed Lester's skill set. Recognizing his defensive potential and agility, Bellard made the strategic decision to position him as an outside linebacker. This choice was based on the belief that Lester could excel and make a significant contribution to the team from this position, using his speed and game-reading ability to intercept passes and contain opponents' advances. Lester demonstrated an excellent ability to adapt to the new position, managing to stand out impressively. During his first year in 1973, he led the team in interceptions, achieving a total of 6, which highlighted his skill and understanding of the game. In his second year at the university, Lester continued to showcase his talent and potential on the field. His performance was so remarkable that the coach decided to move him to the safety position, recognizing that his skills would be even better utilized in this new role. The position change was a testament to Lester's growth and development as a player, as well as the coach's confidence in his potential. Coach Bellard considered Lester the kind of athlete who could play any position due to his versatility and ability. 1976, his final year at the university, was truly memorable for Lester, after his team achieved 7 remarkable victories throughout the year, including a dominant win over rival University of Texas and an exciting triumph over the Florida Gators in the Sun Bowl on January 2, 1976. Lester emerged as a central figure in the Aggies' success. Lester once again led the team in interceptions, totaling 8 throughout the season, the highest number recorded by a player on the team in over 3 decades. The Aggies' defense, under his leadership, continued to excel, consistently ranking among the top 5 in the country in total defense for 3 consecutive years. It was in this setting that Lester Hayes was affectionately nicknamed the Judge. His nickname emerged after he sentenced Texas Longhorns running back Earl Campbell to have a below-expected performance with him on the field. Lester not only sentenced, but also ensured that his words became reality on the field, effectively controlling Campbell and limiting his plays. Thus, his ability to predict and influence the game gained recognition, and the nickname, the Judge, was attributed as a tribute to his ability to enforce his decisions and predictions on the field. In his final year of college, Lester achieved the status of All-Southwest Conference safety and received several All-American mentions, ending his college career as one of the team's top 5 interception leaders. Lester completed an impressive journey from a neglected and forgotten high school kid to a true college football idol, admired not only for his athletic ability, but also for his leadership and unwavering determination. Lester's exceptional performance in 1975 and 1976 did not go unnoticed by NFL scouts, who closely followed his achievements on the field. His skill attracted particular attention from the Raiders. In 1977, Lester was a 5th-round pick by the Raiders in the NFL draft. Although he was confident he would be selected earlier, the decision to join the Raiders proved to be a crucial step in his career. A year before Lester's arrival in 1976, the Raiders had an impressive season, losing only 1 game and winning Super Bowl XI against the Minnesota Vikings. The 1977 Raiders already had a remarkable secondary defense, including names like George Atkinson, Jack Tatum, Skip Thomas, and Willie Brown. For Lester Hayes, the opportunity to join this talent-laden team was a unique chance to learn from experienced veterans. He was particularly eager to absorb the nuances of the safety position at the NFL level, seizing the opportunity to develop his skills under the guidance of these established players. However, his start with the Raiders soon changed. During training camp, Raiders coach John Madden informed Lester that he would be moved to the cornerback position following a request from Al Davis. Davis saw potential in Lester as a cornerback, believing that with the bump-and-run rules in effect, Lester would be devastating. Lester knew that Davis's request was essentially an order, and with the help of a mentor, Pat Thomas, the former cornerback for the Rams and also a former player at Texas A&M, Lester underwent an intensive course to learn about the cornerback position. He would apply some portions to the inside of his thighs to prevent the stickum from freezing. Lester, on the other hand, adopted a different approach. Instead of applying just a small amount to his hands, he began spreading the adhesive all over his arms and even on his uniform, drawing even more attention to himself. Lester later described the influence that stickum had on his career, saying that before being introduced to it in his rookie year, he couldn't catch a cold in Antarctica. A few seasons later, Lester had already solidified his reputation as one of the NFL's top cornerbacks, especially excelling in bump-and-run technique. His exceptional ability to chase down and neutralize opponents earned him a significant nickname, Lester the Molester. This nickname, although it might sound embarrassing to some, reflected the widespread respect and recognition of Lester's ability to dominate defensive coverage, making him a feared figure among opposing quarterbacks and wide receivers. In 1980, Lester had one of his best seasons with the Raiders, recording 13 interceptions for 273 yards and a 62-yard touchdown return, all with the help of his trusty Stickum. After 4 seasons using Stickum and earning the nickname Stickum King, the NFL decided to ban the use of this substance after the 1980 season. This ban initiated a series of rule changes to prohibit Stickum, resulting in the famous Lester-Hayes rule. Although Fred Biletnikoff was the first to discover Stickum and even introduced the substance to Lester-Hayes, the NFL rule banning Stickum became popularly known by Lester's name. This is largely because Lester overused it, going so far as to bathe in the substance. Critics often attributed Lester's impressive ball-catching ability to Stickum, but this view was far from the truth. Even after the Stickum ban in the years 1981 and 1982, Lester-Hayes continued to demonstrate his talent and was voted to the Pro Bowl in both seasons. This proved that his skills went beyond the use of Stickum, solidifying his reputation as one of the NFL's great players. In 1983, Mike Haynes joined the Raiders from the New England Patriots, forming a formidable duo with Lester. That season, Lester had an 18-yard interception return for a touchdown in the playoff game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, as well as an interception and a 44-yard return the following week against the Seattle Seahawks. In Super Bowl XVIII, held at Tampa Stadium in Tampa, Florida, Lester-Hayes and Mike Haynes delivered an extraordinary defensive performance. They neutralized the main wide receivers of the Washington Redskins, Charlie Brown and Art Monk, in impressive fashion. Charlie Brown, known for his skill and speed, was limited to just 3 receptions throughout the game, while Art Monk, one of the league's most prolific receivers, managed only 1 reception. This dominant performance was absolutely crucial to the Raiders' victory over the Redskins in Super Bowl XVIII. The relentless defense of Lester-Hayes and Mike Haynes was a decisive factor that ensured the Raiders' supremacy that day. They not only neutralized the Redskins' key receivers, but also demonstrated a skill and cohesion rarely seen in any defense in NFL history. Something curious and fascinating about Lester-Hayes is that he was a huge Star Wars fan. During pre-game interviews for Super Bowl XVIII, Lester declared himself the only true Jedi in the NFL, a detail that added a touch of personality and charm to his already legendary figure. This self-proclaimed Jedi identity reflected his combative spirit and warrior mentality, something he clearly brought to the field in every game. After this display of excellence in Super Bowl XVIII, Lester-Hayes and Mike Haynes were widely recognized as the best cornerback duo in the world. Their performance was so impactful that it fundamentally changed the way defensive play was viewed. Before Hayes and Haynes, the cornerback position was often underestimated, but they set a new standard of excellence. Their ability to cover opposing wide receivers, intercept passes, and make decisive plays redefined what it meant to be a cornerback in the NFL. The performance of Lester and Haynes was not just a demonstration of individual skill, but also of teamwork and synergy. They showed the world that a cohesive and well-coordinated defense could be as lethal as any offense. This new approach inspired generations of players and coaches to focus more on building strong and versatile defenses. Furthermore, the influence of Lester and Haynes extended beyond statistics and victories. They became cultural icons and influenced how football players saw themselves and their roles within the team. The idea of Lester as a Jedi resonated with many fans and players, symbolizing the blend of skill, strategy, and an unbreakable mentality needed to succeed at the highest level of the sport. In summary, the Raiders' victory over the Redskins in Super Bowl XVIII would not have been possible without the dominant performance of Lester Hayes and Mike Haynes. They not only secured the victory with their stellar defense, but also left a lasting legacy that forever changed how the cornerback position is viewed and valued in the NFL. However, in 1984, Lester Hayes' career began to show subtle signs of slowing down. Even so, he continued to be a standout player in the NFL. His ability to cover opposing wide receivers and intercept passes still kept him among the best. As a result, he was named to the Pro Bowl again, a recognition of his persistent excellence on the field. This nomination reinforced his reputation as one of the greatest cornerbacks in NFL history. Despite the early signs of decline in his performance after the 1985 season, rumors began to circulate that Lester would probably not stay for another season with the Raiders. Injuries, especially a persistent thumb injury, were causing a significant slowdown in his game. Lester was already showing signs that he wouldn't be able to maintain high performance in the NFL for much longer. He confirmed that Al Davis, the owner of the Raiders, was aware of his situation and even threatened to trade him to San Francisco, but that trade never materialized. In the 1986 season, although Lester played well, it was clear that his game pace was no longer the same. Deciding not to wait to be released, Lester opted to retire after the 1986 season. He ended his career with a total of 39 interceptions, including 4 defensive touchdowns. He later stated that in addition to the persistent thumb injuries, the Stickum ban also contributed to the decline in his performance in subsequent seasons. In the 6 seasons after the Stickum ban, Lester accumulated a total of 14 interceptions, a significant drop compared to the 25 he had in his first 4 seasons. However, he was still named to the Pro Bowl and selected as a second-team All-Pro 4 times after 1980, demonstrating his continued skill on the field even without the adhesive substance. After retiring from football, Lester decided to stay in Los Angeles in the Woodland Hills neighborhood until 1994. Even after his house suffered significant damage in the Northridge earthquake, he initially planned to move temporarily to the city of Modesto, California, for 6 months while his house was rebuilt. However, Lester ended up liking the city so much that he decided to stay there permanently. To this day, he resides in Modesto, finding a new home in the city thanks to solid investments he made during his playing days, primarily in real estate in his home state of Texas. Lester has been able to maintain a comfortable life during his retirement. He traveled extensively to participate in autograph shows benefiting children's charities. However, prostate issues and other health problems, which he prefers not to disclose, have kept him homebound for much of the past few years. During the time Lester stayed at home, he turned to God, which led him to delve deeper into the Christian religion. Currently, Lester Hayes is 69 years old and spends most of his time at his home in Modesto, California. Despite having had a notable career with the most interceptions in a single season in NFL history, Lester is still not in the Hall of Fame, although he has been nominated several times. Many argue that Lester Hayes deserves recognition due to his clear and undeniable skill. Even without the use of Stickum, Lester demonstrated exceptional ability on the field, and his achievements speak for themselves. His teammates, such as Mike Haynes, who has almost identical statistics, have been recognized for their achievements. Haynes was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1997, accumulating 9 Pro Bowls, being named to the All-Pro team 6 times, winning NFL Rookie of the Year in 1976, NFL Defensive Player of the Year in 1984, and being voted to the NFL 1980s All-Decade Team. However, some argue that statistics are not the only factor to consider, pointing to the use of Stickum as a controversial point. If this is the case, why was Fred Biletnikoff, who introduced Lester to Stickum, promoted to the Hall of Fame? Fred, of course, introduced Lester to Stickum as a rookie, but he himself used the substance throughout his career. Fred was elected to the Hall of Fame, along with his teammate Cliff Branch and Jerry Rice of San Francisco, who admitted to using Stickum during their brilliant careers. This debate raises an important question. Does Lester Hayes have enough statistics to be inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, or will the use of Stickum permanently stain his chances? Leave your answer in the comments and join this interesting discussion about eligibility and recognition criteria in professional football. The story of Lester Hayes is a testament to the complexity of evaluating elite athletes. While his skills and achievements are undeniable, the controversy surrounding the use of Stickum adds a layer of debate about integrity and criteria for Hall of Fame induction. What should weigh more on the scale? Impressive statistics and demonstrated skill on the field, or questions about the use of substances that potentially influence performance? This is a dilemma that continues to divide opinions and reflects the very competitive nature of football. Lester Hayes' career is marked by extraordinary achievements and undeniable skill on the field. Despite the controversies surrounding the use of Stickum, his impact on the game and his impressive statistics speak for themselves. Regardless of his induction into the Hall of Fame, Lester Hayes continues to be remembered as one of the greatest cornerbacks in NFL history. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more incredible stories from the world of sports. And, of course, don't miss our next video. Click here to watch more fascinating content from our channel. See you next time.